evening. I'm Tom Atkin. I'm calling the City Council meeting for October 19, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bourne?
Here.
Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Ms. Materney?
Here.
Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here. Please stand as you're able and join me and take the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Minutes to the council meeting from October 5th.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe everyone has received a copy of the meeting minutes. Hearing no concerns with those, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from October 5th, 2021 as written and dispense with the reading.
Second. A roll call, please.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes. We have no special reports. We have any letters, communication, assistant concerns. Administrative reports, I have no report other than to make several motions or some recommendations for appointment and reappointment. Jeff Klein for civil service, David Munger for Way Library, David Grouse for Assistant Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
If you don't mind, Mayor, we'll jump in. We did have an appointment review committee meeting as well tonight. And these appointments have gone before the committees. The appointment review agreed 3-0 to recommend all three. So with that, I would like to make a motion to recommend the appointments mentioned by Mayor Mackin for appointment and reappointment.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the people volunteering to serve. City Administrator, do you have anything?
No report, Your Honor?
One thing you wanted to update me on.
Oh, yes,
And
Councilman Coleman. I thought that was on my Wednesday email, but that's okay. I just wanted to let City Council know that Councilman Coleman has asked on several occasions regarding the ability to stream live the council meetings. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm working with the IT manager. We'll be meeting with ProVideo this week to get an understanding of the technology that we either already have or may need. So I'll be following back up with City Council on that request.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Finance Director?
I would just like to say that 2 weeks ago we had our Deputy Finance Director start, Kayla Trigo, and she's doing great. We're happy to have her in our office.
Great job. Thank you. Law Director?
No report.
Thank you. President of Council report?
No reports tonight, Mayor.
Committee reports, Finance and Economic Development?
I do have a report. Thank you, Your Honor. Finance and Economic Development Committee met on October 12th, 2021. The meeting was called to order at 5:33 p.m. by Chairman Mark Weber. Committee members present were myself, Deborah Bourne, and Tim McCarthy. Also present were Kate Sandretto, Law Director, Amber Rathburn, Finance Director, Kayla Trego, our new Deputy Finance Director, and Steve Bronder, Income Tax Commissioner. The approval of minutes, there being no objections, the minutes of the September 14th, 2021 meeting were approved. The appointment of David Munger to the Way Public Library Board, he was present, and Ms. Bourne stated that she thinks he'll be a great asset. Mr. Weber and Mr. McCarthy had no questions for Mr. Munger, and the committee agreed 3-0 to recommend him to the Appointment Review Committee and thanked him for his willingness to serve. On the sale of 2 surplus vehicles, Ms. Sandretto stated that one vehicle is a former ambulance and the other is a vehicle handed down through several departments. I asked about the car being a 2008 and not having that many miles, but it still needs to be replaced due to safety features, among other reasons. And Ms. Bourne asked why the IT department would spend a lot of time on the road. Ms. Sandretto explained that all city-owned properties are part of the IT department's scope of work, and so the committee agreed 3-0 to pass both surplus vehicles along to City Council for auction. In the discussion of the 2022 budget, Ms. Rathburn stated that the first reading will occur at the first council meeting in November, and that the third reading will occur at the first council meeting in December. The committee reviewed the budgets for tax department, engineer, information technology department, law, prosecutor, administrator, and finance. I asked about in the engineer, I asked about the other expenses that were being doubled, and Ms. Rathburn stated that that was likely due to the new engineer outfitting the office. She said she would pull the detail and submit it to me the next day. Ms. Bourne asked about the significant jump in the PIO's salary, which was explained that the position will be going from a part-time one to a full-time position now. Ms. Bourne stated that she thinks the PIO position should fall under the IT department instead of under the mayor. It was stated that Ms. Strego would fill in for Ms. Rathburn as clerk of council if ever needed. Ms. Sandretto reminded the committee members to please email them with questions anytime throughout the budget process. In economic development, Ms. Bourne brought up the 3 positive additions to Levis Commons, Lush, the Mindful Table, and Social Rhine Company. The finance director's report, Ms. Rathburn asked if there were any questions on September expenses of over $5,000, and I asked about the charge for supplies through a company called Polydyne, which Ms. Rathburn explained was for the wastewater treatment plant to purchase chemicals for their process. I also asked about the Brandeis Ford vehicle repair. It was over $8,000, and it was for one vehicle. And Ms. Rathburn said she would send me more details what that was exactly for, and she did send those details, and I was satisfied with that explanation. Ms. Bourne asked about the Perrysburg Auto Mall and the 3 separate charges. Ms. Rathburn explained that these are all 2021 GMC Sierras that council voted on. Ms. Bourne also asked about United Healthcare, which is the current healthcare provider, and these payments come out once a week, which are insurance claims. Ms. Rathburn stated renewal for the health insurance for 2022 will be in a week or two, and since our claims are looking so good, she is hopeful for a good renewal for next year. The tax commissioner's report, Mr. Bronder stated that $1.9 million was collected for September income tax, which is consistent with this time of year. Going into the fourth quarter, we are at $17.4 million. Ms. Bourne stated that she is pleased to see that we are up 4% for individual, which is thanks to the economy rebounding. In other business, Mr. McCarthy asked if we will be seeing a full budget as well as a major ticket list, and those items are enclosed in the packet now of information Ms. Rathburn provided. Mr. McCarthy also asked about the ARPA funds, and Ms. Andretto stated that we are close but still waiting on guidelines so that we can best follow them. So there being no further business, we adjourned at 6:22 p.m. So I have 2 resolutions, and I would certainly like to read them together if that's any problem. That's not a problem. So I would like to introduce resolutions 57 and 58, 2021, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for the readings by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 57, 2021, declaring one 2008 Ford Medallion ambulance currently used by the Fire Division no longer needed for public use or unfit for public service, and declaring an emergency. Resolution 58, 2021, declaring one 2008 Ford Taurus currently used by the Office of Information Technology no longer needed for public use or unfit for public service, and declaring an emergency.
I move that resolutions 57 and 58, 2021 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mrs. Attorney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 9th at 5:30 p.m. And that's the end of my report. Mr. Mayor.
Very much. Safety Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 26th at 6 p.m.
Very good, thank you. Recreation Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a report. Report for the regular meeting of the Recreation Committee meeting for October 12, 2021. Present were Chairwoman Deborah Bourne, Councilors Jonathan Smith and Janet Attorney, Director of Public Service Rob Ross, Litter Control Officer Judy Hagan. Chairwoman Bourne called the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers after roll call and the Pledge of Allegiance. The administration's report on the meeting of August 10, 2021 was approved 3-0 with the correction that the report on the meeting May 11, 2021 had been approved 2-0. Chairwoman Bourne voting present. Citizen concerns. Jim Hagan, 10741 Avenue Road, asks if there is a procedure which would enable private groups to serve alcoholic beverages at private functions in the city parks. Ms. Chairwoman Bourne suggested that he ask the city administrator about this. Mr. Hagan stated that he thought alcohol in the parks was prohibited and he wished that it would stay that way. But if such is not the case, he would like to know the parameters. Mr. Smith asked what events had been serving alcohol in the parks. Mr. Hagan mentioned the statue event in Woodland Park and another in Rotary Park. Chairwoman Bourne thanked Mr. Hagan for bringing this to the committee's attention and agreed to look into it. Ms. Attorney commented that we need to find out what really happened. Chairwoman Bourne stated that she had attended the sculpture event and saw alcohol being served. Mr. Smith added that the administration had received complaints about someone shooting off a laser in the municipal park. Ms. Attorney added there has been vandalism in the bathrooms there as well. Under old business, Mr. Smith stated that he is meeting with Mr. Fisher about the proposed hockey arena the day after this meeting. Chairwoman Bourne stated that she will leave this item on the agenda under old business. Under new business, Chairwoman Bourne announced that the mayor had asked the committee for a recommendation to approve the appointment of Daniel Boers to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Mr. Boers had been present earlier in the evening but had apparently left. Chairwoman Bourne stated that she knows Mr. Boers. He is very involved with the lacrosse program and he has her support. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Attorney stated that they had no objections, so the committee voted 3-0 to recommend Mr. Boers' appointment to the full council. The administration has requested permission from council to apply for a grant from the Wood County Park District. Public Service Director Rob Ross and Litter Control Officer Judy Hagan were present to explain this. Ms. Hagan announced that the grant will provide funds for 3 different items. The first is trash receptacles at Riverside Park, $5,000. The second is for installation of sunshades over the picnic.
You are the only participant in the conference. Please press any key on your keypad to remain in the conference.
At Municipal Playground, $10,000, and the third for a handicapped accessible kayak launch, which would attach to the existing dock at Hood Park. This would give anyone access to the river trail, which extends from the source of the Maumee River to Lake Erie. Chairwoman Bourne asked if the launch was a clip-on. Ms. Hagan claimed that it is. Mr. Smith asked if the administration is planning to go forward with these projects if the grant is not received. Mr. Ross responded that these are not budget items. Mr. Smith stated that regardless of whether or not the grant is approved, he feels that the kayak launch is an excellent project which will bring additional customers to downtown businesses. Mr. Ross replied that there should be no problem with parking, at least during the week. Mr. Hagan said that Perrysburg has a good record receiving these grants. Usually no more than 2 or 3 grants are granted. A lot depends on what focus the Parks District is seeking at any given time. Mr. Smith asked if any consideration had been given to converting some of Riverside Park's trash receptacles to recycling. Ms. Hagan responded that this has been tried downtown and had been unsuccessful. Mr. Ross added that one piece of unrecyclable trash contaminates the entire load, so it ends up in the landfill anyway. Chairwoman Bourne stated that since this request does not involve city money, she has no problem with approving it. The committee then voted 3-0 to recommend to council the passage of a resolution approving the grant application. PrAC did not meet in October, so there is no PrAC report. The next meeting is Monday, November 1st. Under other business, Ms. Materney said she would like to see a skateboard park in Perrysburg. Chairwoman Bourne said she agreed with this idea. She remembers that before she was on council, a citizen was trying to raise money to put one in Rotary Park. He then got fed up and moved to Bowling Green. Chairwoman Bourne stated that the committee would be reviewing the recreation-related items in the budget at its next meeting. The meeting adjourned at 6:49 p.m. The next meeting is November 9th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Report prepared by Deborah Alborn, Chairwoman, October 19th, 2021. I do have a resolution to introduce this evening. I would like to introduce Resolution 59, 2021, and move that the rules are suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to disperse with the second and third readings.
Second. Roll call.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 59, 2021, authorizing the city administration to pursue grants for the Wood County Parks District in the amount of $30,753.79, and if awarded, authorizing the acceptance of grant proceeds and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 59, 2021 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Thank you. Right, that's next meeting, right? Yeah. Okay, planning and zoning.
Thank you, Your Honor. We met on October 13, present with myself, committee members Barry Van Huzen, Corey Coleman, Kate Sandrato, our law director, Bonnie Walters, planning and zoning administrator, and Mark Easterly, deputy planning and zoning administrator. Under the topic of citizens' concerns, Ray and Nancy Heath, who live on Woodland Avenue, asked if the city could revisit the ordinance that allows RVs to driveway 7 months a year, from April 1 through Halloween, actually, as their next door neighbor has been parking his RV in the driveway, which blocks their cycling down the street. The committee and Mr. Walters talked about the possibility of taking this to the planning commission, and we did vote to refer it there. The minutes of the September 15, 2021 meeting were approved. We then next took up a property you may recall on Echo Junction Road, across from Costco. Brody Walters summarized the history of the rezoning request from OS to C3, which is community shopping. And he reported that C3 accomplishes the goals of Josh Truxema and his team from signing CRE. Josh stated that it will be one single tenant, which is an automotive retail store. Pete Quinn, who lives on Calendar Court, and a group from Calendar Court Crescent, they stated they wish they had known about the planning commission meeting that occurred. And he also pointed out that some C3 uses are not conducive to their neighborhood, although they are much happier with this than C4. He asked that the developer be sensitive to the condominiums in regards to fencing, lighting, and noise, all those sorts of things. Joanne Talarico, also a Calendar Court resident, stated that her backyard faces Black Diamond and that people use the driveway that cuts through there to access properties over on State Route 25. And she contended that this new building will need even more cars cutting through, which is a concern to her. Lenore Coleman wants the traffic situation to be considered since there's only one way in and out for her street. Barry Van Hoosen asked about who's responsible for the pond on the front side of Black Diamond, and who is in charge of monitoring it. We had some comments from the Calendar Court residents about the situation with that pond. Brody Walker stated that functionally the Department of Public Utilities is in charge, and aesthetically speaking, planning and zoning is in charge. Barry Van Hoosen also asked about spot zoning. Brody Walters explained the concept of spot zoning, which is illegal, and that's why zoning districts exist. And he concluded that if anything, the current OS zoning would be spot zoning more so than C3. Finally, Mr. Walters explained to Sue Amber, who lives on Calendar Court too, that C3 does not allow a tenant to do oil changes, change tires, do repairs, and that sort of thing. So noise in that regard will not be an issue. Mr. Glenn requested that planning and zoning take a look at the Black Diamond site plan as originally approved. Pete had contended that the property hasn't been developed in accordance with the original site plan. He also made a public records request for the site plan that the new tenant submits once that comes in. We will get that to him. Mr. Coleman asked when the site plans come in, if it's a multi-meeting deal with modifications, and Brody Walters reviewed the approval process. We did talk about if it's possible to cut down the number of cars that cut through Black Diamond's parking lot. I think we hope everyone will work together on that. We did agree 3-0 to recommend C3 zoning to City Council. And finally, the law director confirmed that we were comfortable going ahead with that tonight. And so then in a few minutes, I'll introduce ordinance 52-2021. The issue of arborvitae's, back once again, Ms. Andrade explained the code amendment to the provision of the planning and zoning code that regulates hedges and screen plantings. She had presented a potential amendment to us. And Mr. Walters recommended that we send those changes proposed by Ms. Sandrello back to the Planning Commission to review, and the committee agreed with that. We also discussed some further changes, but basically all these changes are just really an effort to make the zoning charts more understandable. A resident of Fort Mac Road who's present just asked for clarification about arborvitae because he had some in his yard. This issue will be brought back to the committee in November, and once we look at those changes and we think it's ready to go, it will then go to the Planning Commission. Finally, reviewed the Planning and Zoning Committee or Department budget, and Mr. Coleman, as chairman of the Personnel Committee, said that that committee will review all raises, especially those over 7%. I asked about the proposed budget that had 3 vehicles being purchased by Planning and Zoning. Brody said his proposal was to purchase one new vehicle in each of the next 3 years, but to budget for all 3 of them this coming year, since their vehicles are in bad shape. 2 of the vehicles will be electrical, which would require a charging station. We meet again on Wednesday, November 10 at 5:30 p.m. And with that, having been said, I'd like to introduce ordinance 52-2021 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second. Roll call.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ordinance 52, 2021, amending the zoning map of the city of Perrysburg, Wood County, Ohio to rezone property on Ethel Junction Road from OS, Office and Service, to C3, Community Shopping.
I would then move that ordinance 52-2021 be passed.
Second. Discussion.
So I guess I'll just jump in right here. I am still concerned. I understand this is more of a win for potentially both sides here, as it meets the needs of the actual potential tenant coming in or the purchaser of the property. I still have some slight concerns that we're not going with the full C4, primarily because to the north of it's C4, to the west of it's C4, the south is C4, and so consumers can be in a certain way still considered a spot zoning. Just because it doesn't match anything that's either immediately east, north, west, or south. So I just want to vocalize that. I will plan to support this just to get the process moving forward. But I do believe that C4 is the better fit overall with the adjacent properties.
I'll echo that. I thought C4 was a better fit, but I will kind of, I guess, paraphrase what Brody had mentioned during that about spot zoning in C3. He said when you're looking at spot zoning, it's more the general commercial aspect of it rather than, whether it's C3 or C4, it's going to be looked generally whether it's commercial, whereas office and service could have been more so considered spot zoning than the C3 classification. So I appreciate it.
Any other comments? If not, roll call.
Ms. Matroni?
This is a hard one. Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Bourne?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Thank you very much. Personnel.
Nothing to report. Our next meeting is October 26th at 5 p.m.
Public utilities.
Unfortunately, I do not have a report here myself this week. Our next meeting is going to be October 27th at 6:30 p.m.
Service.
No report. Our next meeting is October 27th at 5:30.
Any other business to come before this council?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any none opposed? We're adjourned.